Hi, in this video I will try to answer what educators can learn from MatPat, the creator behind game theory, film theory, and food theory. I'll tell you already, the lesson is not do an annoying voice. My name is David and I teach English literature. I make videos about literature, teaching, YouTubers, and where these intersect. If you don't know, MatPat, short for Mathew Patrick, and his team, including wife Stefanie, ran an empire of content creation. Starting from 2011 with game theory, they have created hundreds of videos that deal with popular culture phenomena. Video games for game theory, movies, TV shows, and viral videos for film theory, and well, food related issues for the newest edition, food theory. These videos often suggest outlandish fan theories about hidden narratives behind well known movies and games, like Titanic is about time travel, Ryder is the villain in Paw Patrol, predicting what will happen in sequels, or check for the feasibility of certain events that are depicted in the movie. For instance, how many balloons would it take to actually lift a house, like in the movie Up? These videos are often silly and extremely clickbaity. They are very popular on YouTube. I suspect that mostly with people in their teens. My own story with MatPat is not so typical, or maybe it is. In the mid 2010s, I used to watch his films with film theories with my partner, enjoying the over the top narratives he presented, usually accepting them as entertainment and not supportable arguments. Later, when my son was about 8 or 9, he discovered the channel. At a certain point, MatPat's grating, high pitched voice was unrelenting during my son's screen time. After that experience, I couldn't stand looking at these videos for a while. Nevertheless, as someone who thinks a lot about how to explain things and get students interested in what I say, I have a lot of respect for Matt. He's able to consistently get people, especially young people, to be curious about science and history and even my own field, cultural analysis and literary studies. How does he do it? The basic method, I think, is pretty simple. Present a problem with which the listener can have an emotional connection, then show how learning new things will help you solve that problem. Let me give an example before explaining why I think this method is important and useful. When I told him I wanted to do a video about MatPat, my son suggested we watch a video about chili peppers. This video from Food Theory opens with MatPat, the narrator, introducing a popular YouTube show, Hot Ones, where celebrity guests eat very hot chicken wings and wishing he could be invited as a guest on the show. He then suggests that if he goes on the show, he'd like to be prepared with a counter to the hot food as to be able to survive the challenge. See? Here's the problem. Facing very hot chicken wings. The problem is connected to popular culture, a celebrity challenge show online that many viewers already know. Even if they don't know that show, almost all viewers will know what spicy food is and might connect to the challenge of facing them more easily. So the problem is presented, and no less importantly, connected to the emotions and fantasies of the viewers. Maybe they dream of facing this challenge as well, or at least enjoy thinking about it. There's a strong emotional connection to the fantasy of withstanding pain that others cannot withstand. The next stage is to find a solution. But the narrator immediately says that in order to fight the hot pepper killer spiciness, we need to learn how it works. So he presents capsaicin, the molecule that is responsible for the burning sensation and how it functions. He does so quite quickly. It won't replace a chemistry class, but it does give the basis for experimenting on different remedies and explaining again through basic chemistry and food science why they work or do not work. All this information is not dumped upon you as a curious fact or as trivia. Neither is it presented as material that you should memorize for an exam, but rather presented as what MatPat and his team needed to learn in order to solve an emotionally charged problem. Now, the problem is not always a challenge like finding a solution to a specific problem. Often the challenge is finding proof for a certain theory about a movie or explaining a certain phenomenon. The structure is still similar. I want to do something I feel strongly about. Here's what I need to learn in order to do it. Thus, for example, when he wants to prove that Disney's Zootopia is a dark allegory about race relations in the US, Matt needs to learn and present information about the treatment of black people in the US. That's it. That's the formula. Present a relevant problem, then present information as part of solving that problem. I'm not saying MatPat invented this formula. You can find it in other much older educational shows. You can find it in educational approaches used in schools today, such as problem or project-based learning, PBL, where students get a long-term assignment and are expected to learn new things and skills in order to complete it. So they might be asked to create a robot that peels bananas and need to learn some programming mechanics, and I don't know, by banana biology, in order to do so successfully. In this example, what's missing is the emotional connection. Who cares about a robot who peels bananas? Maybe some of the students. I don't know. Game theory, etc., probably weren't the first to involve popular culture in the mix either. Still, watching these channels can remind educators, education content creators, even students how important this formula can be. As educators, it's easy to skip the question of why students need the information and skills you provide. The answer is simple. It's in the curriculum. It's gonna be on the exam. But these answers rarely foster real curiosity. You need to be a special kind of person to say, oh boy, the Ministry of Education decided I should learn about the Declaration of Independence. I can't wait. Most people need more motivation. It's much more challenging for the educator to give learners of all ages emotionally charged or relevant reasons to learn what you want them to learn. I know I often skip this stage and jump into the material, but we need it in order to create authentic interest and curiosity. So should teachers start each class with a reference to popular culture? On one level, sometimes yes. I do think that if you can manage it, you should keep up to date with what students like. If you are a math teacher, you should try to learn about Minecraft. It's a very mathy game. Do I always do it? I try to some extent. I know a lot of my students know Disney and Pixar movies, and I weave that into my explanations. Do I keep up with Turkish soap operas because a lot of my students like those? No, that's too much for me. Of course, not all classes can or should be connected to popular culture. In a diverse classroom, a reference could speak to one group and bore another group. For instance, in a recent class, a student asked me if I could give Captain America Civil War as an example. Well, I could, and I did, but I think I got a little carried away, boring students who didn't care about superhero movies. At any rate, you should try to make an emotional connection. It does not need to be through popular culture. It can be a competition, it can be a familiar occurrence in the student's life, it could be something from the life of the school you teach in. In my literature classes, I sometimes ask students to write letters to characters as if they were real people, fostering emotional connection that way. You can ask students what will help them connect to the material. Students know best what they care about. In addition, the problem search for solution formula is important because it models independent learning. In school, or even if you click on algorithmically recommended educational content, you are told ahead of time that this is worthwhile information. You are not taught how to identify the information you want or the skills that you need. In everyday life, if you are to be a lifelong learner, you will need to seek out knowledge because it's what you want or need. Videos like MatPat's Hot Ones enacts the process of studying and experimenting for a reason, with a motivation. In real life, you will have a personal or maybe work problem, and you'll need to figure out what you need to know in order to solve it. You will have something you want your computer to do and not know how to do it. You will have an argument and you need to gather information that will help you prove you are right. Using this formula helps give an example for this kind of thinking. Learning to solve a problem by getting more information. I'm all for learning for its own sake, but directed learning, motivated learning is just as worthwhile. So, to sum up, MatPat and his team can remind us that one of the best structures for learning is presenting an emotionally charged problem and learning new things to find the solution. This structure helps foster emotional charged curiosity and models independent learning. I hope you found this interesting, whether you're a MatPat fan or an educator trying to figure out why MatPat has so many fans. If you think I took something simple and made it more complicated, that's fine. That's sometimes my job too. Thank you for listening. A special thanks to my son Omer, who helped me with the research for the video, and to my wife Lilach, who contributed this picture of a hot pepper in the background.